Hi, I'm Greg Dell, joined by attorney Stephen Dell, and we're going to discuss one of Stephen's success stories on behalf of a dentist who had disability policies with Protective Life and Unum. And Stephen, you've represented hundreds of dentists at a minimum, probably in excess.
Perhaps thousands.
Perhaps thousands. So in this video, we have the opportunity to discuss a little bit about what the factual background, because every case is different, what the factual scenario was for this particular dentist, and how you were able to help them to eventually get their disability benefits approved. So give us the basic background of this particular dentist when he contacted you.
Okay, as many dentists or doctors, or for that matter lawyers, contact us to handle their application for them, they're still employed, still working, perhaps not working up to the level that they did previously, which is due to their impairment. And the call was a very typical call. I haven't left work yet. Is it too early to speak to you about my claim?
And those are one of my favorite calls, and I know yours as well, because the chances of success are so much greater at that particular stage for the claimant to get approved, as opposed to the dentist who calls you and says, I'm out of work, I just sold my practice, can you now help me apply for disability, which is something we also do all the time. But in this particular case, this particular dentist called you and said, I'm still working. And what did you need to get done? What was the policy language before you that you had to deal with, and who were the carriers?
Okay, there were two carriers. One was Protective Life, which before the transformation of about 18 months ago was Great West. And what's interesting about this carrier is that they did write the ADA policies for dentists, ADA meaning the American Dental Association, and Protective took it over. And he also had a policy, also an individual policy, meaning he procured these policies on his own on the open market. They were not group, so to speak, although the Protective policy he was able to buy as a member of a group, but they're not considered group policies. They're still considered individual policies. And and he also had Unum, which is a very large disability carrier, and the policies were very similar. Both policies define total disability as the inability to do either the important or the substantial material duties of chairside dentistry as this doctor practiced it. And the other clause under the policy, which was very similar for both, was what's called residual, also known as partial disability, which means if you can do some but not all of your occupational duties, or all your occupational duties for less time, and you sustain a loss of income of at least 20%, and both policies did have a 20% income reduction requirement, although there are policies that we see with 15% reduction as well. And he said, what do I do next?
So it's very common for people to call us while they're still working, because the disability claim where someone gets hit by a bus or has a horrific, debilitating diagnosis where they have to go in for extensive treatment right away, those cases are not challenging.
Well, a catastrophic claim could be challenging.
Well, but not catastrophic language. I'm talking about, like, I broke both of my wrists, I can't go do dentistry. You know, it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
The more typical case that we handle is the person who's had a chronic neck pain, chronic back pain, carpal tunnel, those types of issues, knee issues or whatever, that have been lingering for months or years. And now they reach the point where they're saying, I'm not sure I can continue to do this. And they reach out to you and say, can I get paid my disability if I stop doing this? And tremendous risk for the dentist who's doing this, because they're earning substantial income in most cases, and the disability policy is not going to replace their income that they were earning. It's a significant pay cut for them, but they want to know, I'm suffering, not at the point where I'm risking a patient, danger to a patient, but I'm hurting very badly. Do I have to keep doing this? So how were you able to advise this particular client and know that, in your opinion, he was going to get approved his disability?
Well, Greg, a lot of these calls, the doctor readily admits, I am a danger to my patient. In fact, yesterday, I took a call from a chairside dentist out of Maryland, wherein she said, I dropped a burr down a patient's throat, and my dental assistant was able to retrieve it because I didn't tighten it enough frankly, because I didn't have the strength. So, but in this particular case, he hadn't hurt anybody.
But that's usually the inciting event that causes a dentist, because the dentists don't want to give up their career. They drop a tool, they drop a mirror, they drop anything that's going on in the mouth. They have an incident and then they go, holy shit, I really can't do this anymore.
That's correct. And he said that I'm practicing, I'm not happy with the way I'm practicing. This is not the way I was trained. I would not want to go to me. I wouldn't want my family to go to me because I'm working at a significantly reduced level of competence. And the handwriting's on the wall. So basically, give me the roadmap as to how I proceed, because my doctor is supportive of me and the conversations that we've had. And this particular client of ours went to one of the best orthopedic hospitals in New York City and had top care. And when that doctor says, it's time for you to step back, it's time for you to step back. Now, I just want to add that so many of our clients are in denial, and so many of them feel, I can go the extra year. Some of them actually like what they do and want to keep the income flow, or they want to keep it so that they can sell their practice and keep their revenues and patient load high. So there's multiple reasons why people want to time it correctly, but yet they're suffering in the workplace.
So what did you ultimately end up doing for this claimant in order to get the application submitted?
I do what I typically do is, based upon our conversations, I dictated a letter to him with 25 bullet points of information I needed, which were medical records, profit and loss, procedural codes under ADA guidelines. I asked him to do a narrative for me about what difficulties he's having chairside, what is he able to do, but most importantly, the P&Ls and his income documentation, because I wanted to see if I could file what's called a residual claim for him. But as it turned out, he didn't sustain a loss. And when I could question him, why don't you have a loss? He said, because a lot of my practice is dental insurance, and I'm 3 months behind. So I'm getting paid now for work I was able to do 3 months ago. But 3 months from now, you're going to see a significant loss. I said, can you make it? He said, no, I can't. So upon his responding to me, I prepared the claim. Well, I put both carriers on notice, Unum and, of course, Protective, got the applications, completed everything together with him, submitted what we call a claims brochure, which includes everything that Unum and Protective want before they even ask for it. Being proactive is really helpful in these cases. Consequently, Unum approved the claim, Protective denied it, on the exact same facts, exact same brochure, exact same definition of disability.
Is that unusual?
Not particularly.
So one of the claims gets approved basically without issue based upon everything that you submitted, and in Unum, what did they rely upon to deny the claim?
Well, Unum approved
Sorry,
the claim.
what did Protective?
Protective sent it for outside review to a company called R3. R3 is an insurance supporting medical agency whereby they have doctors of all specialties that can either arrange a independent medical exam wherein the client of ours goes to a doctor they select, or they can do what's called a peer review. A peer review is a paper review. In other words, the records are sent by Protective to the doctor who works for this insurance servicing company, and you could read in what you want, insurance servicing, and go on their website. It says, we help reduce insurance company costs. Not a good thing. And that doctor did a rather full, long report, and it was nonsense. It might as well have been evaluating another patient.
So what were the options at that point?
Well, the options at that point were to file suit right away, which is not the way we operate. We avoid suit by any means we possibly can unless we feel it's in the client's best interest. Why file a lawsuit at the very beginning when perhaps we can negotiate our way by additional information and showing the carrier you're wrong, which I was able to do. Ultimately, Protective reversed it, paid 9 months worth of back benefits. The claimant remains on claim, and Protective is not giving me any more trouble.
So,
And he remains on claim with Unum as well.
So, what I like people to understand is, fortunately, you had put in all the evidence that was remotely possibly available to get one of the best doctors in the country, from what you said, for this
Yes.
particular claimant's an orthopedic doctor. And yet, what Protective did and Unum did were the same actions. They went out to their internal doctor. Well, Protective went out to an outside doctor. Unum went to an internal doctor, like they usually do. Point is, they go to doctors. The claim rep doesn't just unilaterally look at it and go, oh, I think this person's disabled just because you sent everything in. Then they went out and found this R3 company who they've worked with many times in the past, and this one doctor, without ever seeing the claimant, without speaking to the claimant, without speaking to the claimant's doctors, just decides, you're okay, go back and treat patients.
Which, if I could read the report, you would see. She, meaning the doctor that worked for R3, he can lift 10 pounds. He can bend over at whatever degrees she said. He does not appear to be disabled to the point that he can't practice dentistry. She didn't even identify what his duties were. It was a long, very poor report. And we were lucky in this particular situation. It's so important that you have a doctor who's treating the claimant, who really cares. What I did was, as I usually do, send the report to that doctor, ask him if he would be willing to review it and note what he disagrees with. And he gave me the ammunition I needed, and Protective ultimately said, you were right.
But it was a great outcome, but had the claimant not been prepared from the inception with appropriate medical records that were supporting before that, it would have been hard to overcome that particular IME report, which is what you were able to do in this particular case, and also getting the doctor to cooperate and allow the doctor to be guided and work with us as lawyers to say, this is how, if these things exist, these restrictions, limitations, they have to be documented appropriately. Because if they're not, the insurance company is just going to continue to cherry pick the records and deny.
Greg, we can help prospective applicants avoid mistakes, which are, of course, unintentional. That's why they're called mistakes. Undoing what someone has done months into the claim is often difficult. Although we're successful more times than not, it's great to have the claim at inception before anything goes wrong.
So, well, that was a great outcome for this dentist, and I know you continue to represent him on an ongoing basis, because once you get approved doesn't mean you're approved for as long as you need the benefits. It's a month-to-month evaluation, and I know that every month you speak with your client, you review updated medical records, and continue to tell the client, look, the disability company looks at it every month. They think it's like a whole new slate every month, like maybe you're going to get better this month, and maybe you would. So we have to submit claim forms, whether it's monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually, but part of the service that we offer is we're going to continue to be the only voice with the disability company. They're not going to reach out to you directly. They're only going to go to us. And as long as you, client, treat with the doctor, we'll take care of everything else on our end. And that's the process of what we do day in, day out for not only dentists, but all claimants with any disability policy. So congrats on this outcome. I'm sure the client was happy and avoided litigation down the road, which could have been years, so this was a great outcome. If you're someone out there who has a long-term disability policy with either Protective, Unum, or any long-term disability carrier, feel free to reach out to Stephen or myself or any of our lawyers. No matter where you live in the country, we'll always provide you with a free consultation, and we look forward to speaking with you.